What if I tell you that I know one of your goals, one of those goals that you've always carried forward year in, year out, one of those your prayer points. Oh Lord, I want to make more money. Oh Lord, I want to be financially stable. Lord, I want to have good financial investments. Yes, but what have you done? Nothing. And that is why I'm here to be your accountability partner. We are going to ride on this investment journey together, and we are going to accountable to each other through my little knowledge of finance, because nobody can claim that they know it all. I am going to be giving you ideas on which financial vehicles, investment vehicles, to invest in. First off, if you're just joining us here, my name is Faith, and I love to take people on their investment journey. I love to see young people make good use of their money, and I also advocate for women to be financially stable and to be financially independent. Without further ado, let's dive into today's section. Now, you would have heard that there are various investment vehicles such as mutual funds, the money markets, the ETFs, the index funds, the shares and bonds, what have you. But I get you. I get sometimes it could be a bit overwhelming because maybe as a layman or maybe as a beginner, you really do not understand those terms. And so I will be breaking all the terms, the investment jargons, bit by bit, pieces by pieces to ensure that you understand it. Now, disclaimer, this is not going to be a financial advice. It's just based on my experience and based on my own investment ideas. Before we start investing, one of the key goal or one of the um, key ingredients of a good investment is that you are disciplined. Yes. And for you to be disciplined, it simply means that you have to look at the long term for investing. So that would simply mean that you need to have the capacity to invest. So I want to believe that I am speaking to people who are currently either earning or have a stable income from whatever business or employment activities they may be doing, because if you do not have a stable investment, if you do not have a stable income, you cannot have a stable investment. So the first action point is to ensure that you have a stable income, no matter how little, provided you are able to predict to a certain extent that you will be getting some income from whatever activities you are doing, then you're on the right track. But if you do not have a stable income, then I would advocate or appreciate if you can get a skill that would earn you stable income. Now, with the assumption that we all have stable income or promising income, what then do we invest in? What to invest in would depend on two criteria, and that is simply what we call risk tolerance and risk capacity. You would have heard the saying, the higher the risk, the higher the return. And if that's the case, if everybody fall into the bucket of having good risk appetite or having the risk capacity, then that means everybody will be making good returns, and therefore there won't be any need for poverty, right? But that's not always the case, because we all have different risk tolerance and we all have different risk capacity. Now, for this investment journey to be sustainable to you, you must ask yourself one question: why do you want to invest? A lot of myths, a lot of people have always said investing is for next of kin, but that's not true. When you invest, you are also a beneficiary of your investment. For example, by the time you're 10 years older or 15 years older, you would have good financial leverage to bank on. You won't be starting from the scratch. No, you remember the saying, money gives freedom. I know money cannot buy happiness, but to a very certain or large extent, money gives you freedom. Money helps you to make different choices. So if you're currently placed on the decision of having money so that you are able to make choices and not having money, what would you prefer? You would want to take the choice of having, or I believe you want to take the choice of having money so that you are able to make more choices, especially in societies where women that do not have so much say. So I am an advocate that women make their own money so that they are able to have various choices and not be subdued on conditions that they do not want to be associated with. Okay. Now that we've established why it is good to have investment, the next is what kind of investment vehicles do we want to invest in. And like I said earlier, and like I said, what investment vehicle you invest in depends on two risk activities, and that is risk appetite, and that is your risk tolerance and your risk capacity. Risk tolerance for individuals are divided into three. We have risk lovers, we have the risk neutral, and then we have the risk averse. Risk averse, that's where I fall in. Well, before now, before this year, I've always been risk averse because risk averse people are people that do not like to take risk. Yes, I like my capital intact. I love to see my money grow without my capital being dealt with. So when you are risk averse, it simply means that you don't want your capital to, you don't want a dip in your capital. That's, you don't want your capital to go bad. You want interest, but not to the detriment of your capital. So what risk averse people look out for is more often than not, they do not care about the return, but what they care about is that their capital is intact. So if you are someone like that, then you are risk averse, and this would also determine the kind of investments you are going to be investing in. Now, as a beginner, I always advocate that beginners should be risk averse, even though there's always this teaching that when you are young, you should take more risk, but sometimes that may not always go well, because if you take more risk when you are young and maybe your investments went bad during the process, you would end up to be discouraged in investing. And that is why I advocate that as a beginner, if you're just starting, you have to make investment decisions that are less risky so that you have something to fall back to. So stability should be your first objective rather than return. It's only when you are stable in investing, then that's when you will not start looking out for other income. Having established what a risk averse individual is, we'll talk about the risk neutral. The risk neutral people are people that maybe they got their money from inheritance or something, and they really do not care risks whether it gives them return or not. Oh, okay, Faith, which investment plan is that? I will just put my money. If it gives them investment return or not, they do not care. So those ones are just in the middle. They can take risk, they can switch, they are very flexible. Now the risk takers. And the risk takers are the people that own the statements. They hire the risk, they hire the return because they love to take risk. Remember when I said for risk averse, what they look out for is that their capital does not go down. For risk lovers, what they look out for is for return. Now, when everything you want to do is about how much am I going to be getting, how much is the return, then you are more likely a risk taker, because your question is always, am I going to make 100%? Am I going to make 50%? And if I tell you, yes, you're going to make 100%, or you're going to make 50% from this investment, or you're going to make 10% from this investment over the next 5 to 10 years thereabouts, you would simply say, okay, you want to do it. You hardly ask the question, will my capital go down? And even if I tell you that there's high tendency that your capital might also go down, you are not looking at the fact that your capital is going to go down. You are only focused on the fact that you are going to make higher returns. So if that is you, then you're a risk taker. Now that we've clearly defined the three types of risk tolerance and you've concluded on which bucket you fall into, the next thing is to now know your risk capacity. You can be a risk taker, but you do not have the capacity. That would also determine what kind of investments you're going to be investing in, because at the end of this series, what I want to establish is the fact that you should be able to now know where you are in the investment radar and know what you want to invest in very easily. So the risk capacity simply means how much money is at your disposal. Remember what I said, that for us to have a good financial series this season, or for us to have a good financial habit, we need to be consistent. And for you to be consistent, you need to have income. And then aside that income, you take away your expenses and have a stable investment amount. Because what we don't want to do at the end of this series or during this journey is to put money, to invest money today, and then tomorrow you want to take it out. No. What we want to do is each month we dedicate money, whatever. I am not in charge of whatever investment you want to do. You do your investments. I am only having the appetite to talk to people about investing. So, but as time goes on, when you put your money in investing, just ensure that you do not withdraw it, because that would be the benefit of your investment. That would get you a higher benefit over the long run. Risk capacity, like I said, is how much money is at your disposal that you are willing to invest in and it will not affect you. So even if you're a risk taker and you only invest little and you only have little amounts to invest in, you would not be, you most likely invest in maybe a mutual fund or stocks, like with little portions or little bits. You can't invest in maybe higher funds like hedge funds, thereabout, which those ones are also risky. So you see how your risk capacity also comes to play. Then if you're a risk averse person and then you have money, even though you have enough money, because you are risk averse, you would also want to put your money in stuffs like money market and maybe money market mutual funds, share, not really shares, because shares are for risk takers or risk neutral people. So I hope I've been able to explain through this video what it simply means, to how you can simply place yourself in a bucket to know what to invest in and to not be overwhelmed by financial jargons. So in my next series, I'll be taking us through all the investment series that we have, and whatever bucket you've placed yourself, risk averse, low risk capacity, maybe you do not have sufficient money, it is fine. There is always investment for everybody. Again, I want to make it clear that you do not need so much money to invest. So I don't want you to get in the middle of this series and then feel like you are left out because you don't have so much. Sometimes people that have so much end up not even investing because they have so much expenses and flashy life to keep up to. So the fact that you have a moderate income, low income, you just need to be disciplined and then keep improving on your own self so that you get more income. So in my next series, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about different investment vehicles, and then you will now decide on which bucket you fall into. See you in my next series.